Yo, what up, comiXsense crowd, community, crew? We're back again with another episode of CSP Comic Sensory Perception. I am Issue X. Tonight we're going to be joined by. Just give me a second. I want to turn the volume off on my phone because it keeps giving me notifications. So tonight, hopefully, we'll be joined by Comic Sam, who is currently having technical difficulties, and Rich doesn't read. And as always, we're going to talk shop, cover all the things, kick it with those who are in the commentary. If anyone's in the commentary, doesn't matter. We're still going to do what we do. That having been said, we like to work. We like to keep the lights on. Shout out to Diageo Mallard, who is in the room. Shout out to anyone else who's going to be in the room. I see 3 people up in here. Do not hesitate to comment. Shout out to Jerry Whitman. We like to address comments. We like things to be organic. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and, as they say, pay these bills. So then, like and follow comiXsense on Facebook and join our comiXsense Facebook group. Check us out on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, follow us at comiXsense on Instagram, and find us on the Twitter. Listen, go to the YouTube page, click like, hit the notification bell, subscribe. We're going to continue to bring content. Right now, we are just waiting. Let me throw up the comments. Shout out to Sean Mallory. Hey, yo, Scott Hall right there. Right now, Comic Sam is having a little bit of technical difficulties with his mic. Rich doesn't read. Y'all know Rich. He doesn't read. He doesn't offer much commentary, but he's really dope. He will be in. Ian Michaels, bless him, bless his family. They are out of town enjoying a much needed anniversary vacation. And Ian is there in the commentary. Shout out to Ian. That having been said, yeah, we're going to cover all the things. A lot of dope things happen in comics this week or over the past 2 weeks that we haven't covered yet. I mean, we got another episode of She-Hulk. We got 4 episodes of Andor in 2 weeks. I want to talk about it. I want to know what people feel about Andor. I'm hearing I'm hearing a sentiment that seems to be the popular sentiment in regards to the show. Actually, 2 sentiments. One is some people really can't get into it, that it's kind of slow, and other people think or say that the first episode is really, really slow, and then the rest pick up. Shout out to Sam Murdoch. Sam, appreciate that, man. Check us out tomorrow. Man, sucks that you have to go to work, but then again, here I am at work. So that is what it is, right? Anyway, I want to talk about some stuff. Big topic. Ian says he's reading some books as we speak. Big topic that I want to talk about. I was hoping Comic Sam could get his technical difficulties fixed before we got into this conversation, but I want to talk about the recession, inflation, how the country is, obviously we're in inflation, and we appear to be on the cusp of inflation. And how does this affect us as a comic community? Well, we discovered, comiXsense that is, 2 weeks ago, that we as a comic community, we are already in a recession. Like, we are firmly entrenched in this recession. Ian's reading Star Wars. Yeah, right. Ian reading Star Wars. Man, it's getting, the temperature is dropping in Hades right now. So if Ian's reading Star Wars. So yeah, we discovered that as a comic community, we are in fact in a recession. What does this mean for the greater community? What does this mean for retailers? What does this mean for people who peddle the funny books on the live stream? What does this mean for us as collectors? And that's the thing that I want to highlight, because I think everything else, there's a trickle-down effect, and everything else, all of the rest of the media subsides on us as collectors for whatever reason that we choose to collect, be it collecting for investment, be it collecting to read, whatever the reasons, collecting to flip, whatever reasons we collect, we understand that the greater comic community is able to exist or survive or thrive or what have you because we collect, because we choose to take our dollar, walk into a comic shop, go on to eBay, jump on a live stream, whatever means by which we purchase comics, we choose to do so. So the first thing I want to talk about is how we're impacted and what I believe is an opportunity. First of all, man, I'm probably going to make some people mad. I'm a business owner, right? And I can tell you that I am excited. I'm excited for what's coming up during this comic recession. And I say that we're in a recession because if you look around you, if you're looking to purchase books, if you are in that market where you are buying higher end books or books that aren't cover price, Grail books, key books, etc., you notice that there is a large drop off in the current market value on these books. Large, big. Things like Amazing Fantasy 15 have come down thousands of dollars. Books like Giant Size X-Men #1, thousands of dollars. What I'm saying is we currently are in a buyer's market. It's a buyer's market. This isn't to say that your coffers are filled to overflowing with the loot to take advantage of the buyer's market. Not saying that. Obviously, recessions affect everyone, but the greater community, and not the comic community, is not hit or is not impacted by this impending recession like the collectors community currently is. Everything is down. Everything. Trobes grabbed the EOS 2. We just grabbed a Nyx #3 CGC 98. We got it for $8,000 to $1,000 less than the current market value. Paid $1,500. It was going for $22. Rich Doesn't Read is in the room. I'm going to bring in Rich. I'm going to speak to the people, and then we're going to jump right back on this subject. Rich, shout out to the people. I'm in the middle of a topic, so I want you to shout out to the people, and I'm going to jump right back on the topic.
What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone is having a good evening. Go on, Ish.
So then, we're in a buyer's market. Before, and this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for those who have been saving their pennies. And I know it's difficult. It's very easy to say, now is the time to buy. Nick Matthews just grabbed ASM #50. This is what it is. And I know it's very easy to say, now is the time to buy. It's very easy to say, and it certainly may not be realistic for people whose finances are tight because we're in a recession. The comic community, I don't want to talk about other collectors communities because it doesn't matter. This is a comic show. The comic community is in a recession, and the advantage that we have, first of all, people are going to cut back, right? They're going to cut back on what they buy weekly, and they're going to cut back on what they buy monthly, probably cut back to either their favorite series or investment books. Books that they think are keys or spec or what have you is generally what people are going to cut back to. This is one of the reasons why comiXsense likes to say we are recession proof, because we're generally what you would cut back to. That's the reason why we had a recession proof show last Tuesday, the whole nine. We're going to have another one coming this Tuesday, but we're not here to talk about that aspect of comiXsense. So it is a buyer's market. If you're looking for that book, you got some pennies saved up, now is the time to buy. Even if you're looking for flip books, this is my opinion. Even if you're looking for key books to flip when we come out of the recession, because this isn't a bubble. This isn't like the 90s where there's this comic book bubble and the market is going to crash. Nope, it's not going to happen. As long as there are wealthy people from outside of the comic community who continue to hide their money in Silver Age, Bronze Age, and even modern grails, there is going to be value in these books. There's going to be value in these books. When we come out of the recession and some of these shows hit, books like the first appearance of Robbie Reyes, which everybody, listen, that's the key that's still on the table. All new Ghost Rider #1, the first appearance of Robbie Reyes. That is the key that is still on the table. That is your future first appearance of Kamala Khan. That is your future first Miles Morales. May not be as big as Miles Morales, but that is your future book on that level. Your first Spider-Gwen. That is the book. Your first Laura Kinney. It is going to be Robbie Reyes. We've been screaming Robbie Reyes for a long time. I'm sure Rich can co-sign that. We've been screaming, make sure you have all new Ghost Rider #1. If you can find that 1 in 25, which seems to be a ghost, that may be the book you should be looking for during this recession. There are several books that I think now is the time to grab. We grabbed that Nick's number 398 because it was a book. We wanted a 98. We didn't want to pay the $2,200. A year ago, it was $1,000. In early 2021, you can get that book for $1,000 in CGC 98. By 2022, it had shot up to about $2,200. We got it for 15. I'm just giving you, and I know anecdotal evidence isn't always evidence, but if you, again, Nick Matthews, Trobes grabbed an EOS 2, Nick Matthews grabbed an ASM 50. Look at the resources that are available to you. Look at eBay, Mercario. Look at what's selling on Whatnot or on some of these other bigger sites. Look at right now, and I know dealers, I talk to dealers, I kick it with comic shop owners. Comic shop owners aren't buying because it's a recession, which brings me to comic shops. Support local comic shops. I understand that it's going to be hard, but it's going to be hard on everyone across the boards. So again, don't let local comic shops take advantage of you either. Wall books should come down in price. Local comic shops, wall books need to come down in price during a recession, right? You need to sell these books. You're not buying books. People aren't coming into your shop selling you books and you're not in a position to buy because it's a recession for the comic industry. It is a recession. We are fully in a recession. Again, use your resources. Look at all of the sites that I just mentioned. You can see the people selling books for hundreds of dollars less than they were selling these books at the beginning of the year. In some cases, thousands of dollars less than what they were selling these books for in the beginning of the year. So yes, it is my opinion that we are in a recession. It is also my opinion that because of this recession, it is now a buyer's market in the comic book community. Rich, you got anything you want to add to that?
I mean, you pretty much hit it right on the head there, Ish. I mean, you've seen these books in January, February, all of a sudden take a huge drop, and we're talking huge books. And as far as Spider-Man 1, I mean, ASM 1, I mean, I know Trobes have talked about that a few times. You had spoken about that. Nick's, I mean, these books are coming down at a substantial rate. Now, at one point, they will start to slow down and they'll bottom out and then they'll go back up again. But you said it right. And right now is the time. If you have enough money saved up for it, if you, again, everyone is in a recession with it when it comes to the comic industry. But if you have the ability to buy one of these books at a high grade, I mean, now is the time to do it. I mean, Kim and I were contemplating buying one or scheduling a vacation. It is what it is. It's one of those things where you pick one or the other. And, luckily, we're able to do that. But it's still in my mind, do I get that Knicks or, I'm a Punisher guy. Do I get that last Punisher key of ASM 129? And those have come down too a little bit, ironically enough, even though, which is ironic because he is going to be, in the I believe in the Daredevil series he's going to be in. And yeah, you would think that those prices would go back up, and they actually haven't. So,
well, it's interesting, right? They can't just climb back up because it's like, who's going to buy it?
That's a good point.
When everyone else who's competing to sell the same copy of the book is dropping their price so that they can sell it. You see what I mean? They'll go back up. First, an ASM 129 is always going to be an ASM 129. First Punisher, first Jackal. But if AF 15 drops in price, it stands to reason that every book under that, like, what are we doing, right? Like, AF 15s have come down thousands of dollars. That's not to say that they're affordable, but Black Panther #3, 1 in 25. Like, if you missed on that book and you were on the fence on that book, that may be a book you want to look at during this recession. There's a few books that I think that are still out there on the table that, I mean, if you're looking for an America Chavez or a Kamala Khan or an EOS 2, any of these books, the Modern Era Grail, Ultimate Fallout 4, any of these books, listen, if you got the cash to throw at it, there are sites, the CGC site, shout out to CGC, where you could just talk to people in the commentaries and they may have books and you can just get on a payment plan. Do it.
Yep.
Do it. I'm looking at, and I probably shouldn't say it, but I am looking at a high grade, greater than 9 giant size X-Men #1 as we speak.
You are an X-Men guy, I think, right?
Listen, and you know how I feel about that book. I think that is one of the most important bronze grails. I mean, I think it's bigger than Hawk 181.
Mm-hmm.
180, 180. I think it's bigger than the first Wolverine. So, because I just think Storm is a more important character, but you're also getting Colossus. You're also getting Nightcrawler. You're getting several Thunderbird, who's not as important, but you're getting Colossus and Nightcrawler. So I think that trio in and of itself, and I just think Storm is a more important character.
I like what Wilton said.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop up with what Wilton said. Actually, Wilton says, I think there's a lot of speculators that go crazy on FOMO, thus sell their key books to keep up with current issues, which I don't really think is a good habit.
No.
Personally, that's my personal opinion. A key book is a key book is a key book. And I mean, if you're just trading what people like to call blue chip keys to get current issue key, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I'm certainly not one of those people that you get this crowd of people who will say something like Black Panther #3. I'm not going to buy that book. It's not I stick to blue chip keys, which prior to the recession, it's very hard to do, right? To just invest in blue chip keys. I mean, blue chip keys cost blue chip money, right? And ASM #1 costs ASM #1 money. And AF-15 costs AF-15 money. Hawk 181, listen, giant size X-Men cost blue chip money. Hold on, let me continue to, let's pop up Wilton's next comment. I like what he's talking about here.
Yeah.
They keep losing value in their collection, pay FOMO prices and selling low to buy the new FOMO. And that is one of the reasons why I don't think it's a smart move, because you are diminishing the value of your collection. For what? I like Black Panther #3. I like all of the modern era grails. I'm not going to give up a giant size X-Men for an Ultimate Fallout 4. That's me, though. As Wilton has illustrated, certainly there are some people who will drop a giant size X-Men and pick up a Nyx and pick up a EOS 2 and pick up I've talked to people who've asked my opinion on whether they should give up a ton of modern keys for the blue chip key in trade. And I'm always like, yep, shout out to J-Pop every time. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it all depends on how you what you place and how you value your collection and your ability to identify trends in the market as well. Because we're not always right. I'm not always right. I believe that certainly we should be able to identify trends before they become trends. But that doesn't mean, listen, you might not want to trade a Marvel Spotlight or a first Ghost Rider or a first Moon Knight or you might say, I want to hold on to this book because this is a blue chip key. And that book may top out at like 30K in 9.8. But then an Ultimate Fallout 4 might top out at like 9K. And an EOS 2 might be another 7K. And then, you understand what I'm saying? And aggregate, cumulative value may exceed the value of the one book. Who knows? It all depends. But if you're trading for a run of something that's killing the children, stop it. Stop it. Great run. Love that run. Love some of these modern era runs. Great run. Walking Dead #1, modern era grail. That's a book that certainly I could see somebody trading a blue chip for. It all depends on the value they place on the books. I could certainly see somebody doing that. So yeah, man, I just wanted to cover that really quick. I was hoping Sam could come in and weigh in because Sam always has a very interesting perspective on this type of topic in particular. So I was hoping Sam would come in and weigh in. Obviously, he didn't get his technical difficulties with his mic fixed. That is okay. I'm assuming he'll make it in because he tried to come in twice and his mic wasn't working. I'm assuming he will make it in at a point in time or another. If not, the show must go on. So, Rich, what'd you watch this week?
Not much, man. I had a busy week, man. I had, working, went to security and, getting clients back together. I was busy. I didn't watch much, although I did watch, House of Dragons. So
you watch House of Dragons?
Of course.
Okay. What'd you think?
I'm enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying the route that they're going. I know that in the books, I know like there's big time jumps, and I know that the series has to keep up with that. And I think they're doing a great job with it. I really do. Although I'm not gonna lie, I'm throwing it out there. Every other character is aged except Sir in his feelings over here. He's the only one that aged backwards. Okay, that's cool.
Who?
Sir Colton.
You think he aged backwards?
He's the only one that didn't age. He's the only one that his character didn't change out.
I mean, Rhaegon.
I'll give you that.
Yo, what do you feel about Colton, man? Yo, I'm gonna tell you, I thought he was dope in the beginning, and I just want to slap him. Like, yo, bro, what happened to you, man? Like, what happened to you, bro? Like, is your soul walking around singing sad lullabies or something, bro? Because like he done turned bitter. Yo, this dude went through all the feels, right? He went through like happiness, the chivalrous brave knight who was really dope, who beat Rhaegon in the tournament, to in love, to suicidal, to murderous, to jealous and vengeful. Like he went through all of like real quick too. Like he went through all of them. And I'm like, yo, dude, I just want to, dude, every time I see you on my screen, you make me feel like the princess from the Never Ending Story. And I want to slap you. Like you ever watch Never Ending Story? You see the princess. As soon as she opens up her mouth, she's like, Atreyu.
Oh my God.
Help us. You're the only, I just want to punch my TV. I be wanting to fight. Like Leia on that Obi-Wan Kenobi show. On that Ben Kenobi show, she makes me want to punch television screens. Yo, I'll get real combative. Every time she opens up her mouth, I'm like, yo, bro, somebody kicked this little girl in her face. Who cast her? And that's how I feel about Sir Colton, man. Like, yo, bro.
Yo, Sir and his feelings over here needs to calm down. It's 10 years after the fact, and he's still feeling some kind of way about it. Still bitter about it. He needs to let it go.
Still bitter about it.
He should have done the samurai thing and just done him in and just been done with it.
I will say I'm not a fan of adult Rhaenyra.
No.
I feel like she's weaker than teenage.
I was about to say, I feel like she's lost her drive, her power, her fire. It's just not there.
Yeah, she's very much, I don't know, she's not as fierce as the young actress who played her. So I'm like, okay, I have to get used to it.
Right.
Maybe we need another episode of some time passing, and because every episode, it seems like a significant period of time passes. So maybe we need another episode of that, and we'll get to see a fiercer or her return to her former ferocity, because at this point, it seems like she's defeated.
Yeah.
What she projects is defeat to me. I didn't think that teenage girl was going to grow up to be so, or appear to be so weak.
I agree. And in the one episode, it was before she was, before she was given her hand in marriage, it seemed like she didn't want to go the route of staying in the castle and birthing children and going down that road. And at least in my opinion, it seemed like she wanted to be on the other side. She wanted to be more the adventurous route and do what she wanted to do and go to the beat of her own drum instead of what's supposed to be, become of her. And
right.
It seems like things have definitely taken a turn for it. But like you said, I'm curious to know what these time jumps, what's going to be the next episode or two. Maybe the next episode, it does make another turn where she all of a sudden gets, fierce. Maybe she becomes more aggressive again.
I mean, it's like someone needs to slap her as well. And I don't mean in like this, I hate the character way. I mean,
to wake up.
Yo, bruh, you are the heir.
Yeah.
You better start walking around like you the heir up in this piece. You know what I mean? Like you better start letting people know what time it is.
Yeah.
She's fled the castle now, but I feel like she's doing that to establish a stronghold.
I agree.
To establish a power base, so to speak. So that's my feelings on that. We'll see where that goes. She-Hulk. Did you watch it?
I did not, but you can spoil it. It's all right. I'm not worried about it. So
I mean, we got some Marvel characters in there, if you want to call them Marvel characters. It's the one thing that I'm finding disappointing about the She-Hulk show, and I get it. It's a courtroom dramedy.
Mm-hmm.
And these are standalone episodes. Trobes and I were talking about this, and he's like, I don't know where it's going. And I said, well, do you know where Law and Order SUV is going? Because there's not an overarching plot, right? Every episode is a self-contained episode. There is a plot. There is a subplot or a continuing subplot, obviously leading into some MCU stuff going on with the Thunderbolts and with Abomination. But these are meant to be self-contained episodes with a recurring subplot. So I'm cool with that, right? I'm cool with the courtroom dramedy. What's kind of bothering me is a lot of the villains, the Easter egg villains. Not only are they weak, they're corny.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Wrecking Crew.
What Wrecking Crew? I'm sorry, it looked like a bunch of guys. It could honestly have been guys on a tricycles coming in to try and rob your wallet, and it's comical. Or Titania.
Yo.
The first time you see Titania, I know we talked about this, but I'm just going to go back to it. The first time you see Titania, she gets punched in the mouth once, and that's it.
That's it. Thrown across the courtroom.
That's it.
It's like, wait a minute.
Like she was a rag doll.
I remember reading an Avengers issue when I was a kid. It was the first Avengers that I read, and it was called Even a God Can Die. And these dudes showed up at Avengers Mansion and beat Hercules to death. To death. Like they beat him to death. Like they're hitting him with the crowbar, the ball and chain. Like they beat him to death, dude. Hercules. Like widely considered in Marvel Comics Earth's first superhero. That dude who can go toe to toe with Thor, like Hercules, beat him to death, bruh. She-Hulk just wipes the floor with him, and the next thing you know, the guy's in he's like in an emo group run by Emil Blonsky. It's like, wait a minute. Whole fact, he doesn't have to crowbar anymore. Porcupine. Like they just straight turned Porcupine into a joke. I mean, he was a joke, but they really made him into a joke. And then what's the bull guy? You didn't see it, but there's like this bull guy. Like they do. It's I don't know. I love the series. Really love the series. I think it's really innovative.
I do like the show. I really do. I know some people aren't a fan of it. I know more people are, and I like the way that they're going with it. I like the way that they've tied in. Finally, they've tied in Sakaar, and they've tied in at least that portion to see what route they go with it. The movie, what have you. But I've enjoyed it so far. I would
so you think that's what's going to happen? You think that Hawk is going to end up on Sakaar?
A part of me thinks so. I mean, I can't. I'm just guessing. I'm specking, if you will, but no pun intended. But I mean, I'm just assuming he is. Like the ship looks vaguely familiar, what you would have seen. On what was that? On Thor Ragnarok. I mean, it's he's got unfinished business because obviously he wants to know what happened. I mean, it's interesting. I'd be curious to know if he ends up going back there.
So the question is, right, because as of right now, it's redundant, right? Because he left Earth early on in the Marvel movies because clearly he felt he was too dangerous to be on Earth, and he ended up in the Collector's or the Grandmaster's fighting arenas, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where he ended up being. So this is very redundant unless there's an underlying reason for him to go back there. Like why? I mean, we don't know yet. I'm sure there's a reason, but speculatively, why do you think he put himself, because clearly he put himself in the ship. Why do you think he put himself in this ship, and because right now, if I'm keeping it real with you, Professor Hulk can't survive on Sakaar.
I agree.
Not only that, when is Marvel going to pull the plug on Professor Hulk? Seriously, like they know it's one of their most hated characters. Porcupine died falling on his own quill, so not much ground to stand on for this one. This is true. This is true. But nonetheless, They didn't have to. If you, Sean, you saw that episode of She-Hulk, you saw what they did to Porcupine. Like, this guy was comedy relief. Like,
So
for real, for real.
I can't wait to watch it now. I really can't.
Yeah, they turned him into straight comedy relief.
Now, is that the point though? I'm just
mean,
thinking, out of every villain that you've seen, they're all comic. I mean, they're all comical. Every single one. From what you remember in the comics to now, are they purposely doing that where all of a sudden they're just going to turn it on and all of a sudden they're not comical? Now it's serious go time, and now you're going to see them actually, be somewhat destructive and somewhat menacing, because if, from the first few episodes, and obviously I missed the last one, but if they're that comical, are they purposely doing it that way? I mean,
they are, because it's dramedy, but
right.
It's interesting, right? Because, and I guess they're not taking characters that we're going to likely see somewhere else in the MCU. So I guess from that perspective, it's okay. I get it. I can't forgive. I really like Jamila Jamil. And like Titania, like, come on, man. Come on, man. If She-Hulk has to have one formidable opponent, it's probably going to be their nomination, but nonetheless, she has to have one formidable. It's going to be the leader. I see it now. I see it. It's all becoming clear to me now. It's all becoming clear to me now. It is going to be the leader,
because he is supposed to come back.
I mean, you didn't see the last episode, but
no,
when I really think of
what I read, and then I remember at the end of was Incredible Hulk, he gets thrown into the vials and he's got some Hulk blood drip into him. So yeah, I mean, we know what route it was supposed to go with it, but I'm glad that they are going to bring him back. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I'm seeing the leader. I'm seeing the leader. That's going to be dope. I'm definitely seeing the leader show up. And it's interesting, right? Because maybe Bruce is in space because he's aware that he has offspring. Because there is rumors that Scar is going to make an appearance in this television series too. So maybe that's what he's going to check on, that at some point in time.
Business, meaning his, check on his kid.
I mean, I didn't like the version of Hawk from Thor Ragnarok either. It was like Monkey Hawk. You know what I mean? Like, no, seriously, it was like Monkey Hawk. I liked the original Hawk that popped up in the Avengers, that Hawk. But Thor Ragnarok was like a change too. He was like Monkey Hawk. And then now we get Professor Hawk, which meh. Nobody likes Professor Hawk. I think that
you
is.
Can call it, you can call it Marvel trying to evolve Hulk over the phases, and they've lost it after the first Avengers, because at that point it's a slow downhill trend where people are losing interest in it, because it's not and we talked about this a few episodes ago, where it's not the Hulk smash kind of guy. It's the okay, maybe we'll talk first and then we'll smash and then we'll talk some more. And then it became, let's just talk in general and let's not smash anything.
Well, the difficulty is they wanted to make sure Hulk was on the Avengers. And that's the problem, because in the comics, Hulk was an Avenger for a very long time. He was not an Avenger for a long time because he's Hulk.
Thank you.
I'm not your friend.
He's a green rage machine monster.
He's a green nuke.
He's
a nuclear weapon.
And he only gets worse. The more angry he gets, the worse he gets. So,
Hulk is not your friend. He's not a superhero.
Wait, you mean to tell me you're
not your friend?
He can't put his hand out and you just say
none of that. None of that. None of that. There are only a few people that Hulk has considered friends. One of them being the Sentry, and that was a retcon, right? So, Hulk is not your friend. He's not a superhero. I'm not saying he's a supervillain, but he's not a superhero. He's not looking to save the world. He just wants to be left alone. And that's the Hulk that should show up in these Marvel movies, in my opinion. Should have showed up from the beginning. Leave me alone. But when it's situation critical, I'm going to do some stuff. And then I'm going to slap everybody else that's in my way, because we're always trying to stop the Hulk. Old school Avengers is what it was when they created the containment unit, and when Iron Man created the Hulkbuster Veronica in the Avengers films. That's where they should have stayed. That's where they should have stayed with it. Not Hulk realizing that he's bad for the earth. So I'm going to send myself into space.
Did anybody bring him up on charges? He stole a Quinjet.
I mean, that's not even something that Hulk would do. I'm going to save the world for me. Nah, man.
Real quick, you had mentioned that he had a few allies that he would consider friends. Sentry was one. Who are the other few that he had that he was friends with? That the true friend that he wasn't going to rip apart in half or tear their head off.
I mean, the only one that I can think of outright is Sentry.
Okay.
I mean, Rick Jones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the only one outright, but that was retcon, but certainly Rick Jones. Sometimes Doc Samson. Sometimes. I mean, him and Submariner had a thing, but that was just out of mutual respect because they just used to fight all the time because they shared a comic book. So yeah, but for the most part, I mean, Hulk just smashed. I mean, there is a military force designed to try to deal with the Hulk, and rightfully so. He was friends with the Defenders. He wasn't really their friend, but yes, I will go with that, Sean. That's a good point. I wouldn't really call him Doctor Strange's friend, by any means. But yes, he did exist and was able to coexist on that Defenders team for quite a period of time. So I think that counts. That qualifies for sure. But yeah, so and there's a very real reason why they have the Hulkbusters. They should have the Hulkbusters. This is a gamma bomb walking around, and the moment you piss him off, he just does what he wants to do. He didn't smash the Defenders. He did not smash the Defenders. He actually was able to coexist with the Defenders longer than he was an Avenger, because he was not an Avenger for a very long time. That's the thing, that the misconception from the MCU is that the Hulk had a very short tenure as an Avenger. And it wasn't even like, yeah, I'm going to be an Avenger, and when you scream Avengers Assemble, I am there. It was more or less by circumstance than it was by, yes, give me a card and let me hold on to a membership card and be an Avenger. Bruce Banner, on the other hand, certainly always affiliated with the Avenger. Yeah, he did have a dope relationship with Silver Surfer. He really did have a mutual respect for Silver Surfer. But the thing is, Silver Surfer he didn't come off like he wanted to exploit Hawk, and he was always sympathetic to. They fought, but he was always sympathetic to Hawk. Similar to Submariner. They had a mutual respect. They used to fight a lot.
What's up, Jay?
And it's interesting because Thor and Hulk fought plenty of times, and there is no love between the two. None. What up, Jason Robinson? Sean Mallory says he'd love it to see Mr. Fix-It or Millar's Ultimate Hulk. I think Mr. Fix-It would be dope in the MCU.
How would you bring him in? How could you bring Mr. Fix-It in?
I mean, they're already showing us Hawk's evolutions, right? We've seen 3 versions of Hawk in the MCU. We've seen Hawk Smash, we've seen Monkey Hawk, we've seen Professor Hawk. You understand what I'm saying? So we're starting to see Hawks, and there's tons of Hawks inside of Hawk, right? There's Devil Hawk. There's a whole bunch of Hawks inside of Hawk. You know what I mean? There's super strong Hawk that isn't Professor Hawk, but has some intelligence, written by Peter David, for instance. Peter David's Hawk, which is, he just hates Bruce Banner, but he'll talk to you and he'll help you, and you know what I mean? That particular Hawk. He's not Professor Hawk. But yeah, Mr. Fix-It Hawk was no, Corey. Corey says he wants to see Starship Hawk, and I'm gonna put a hashtag stop it.
I've never even heard of Starship Hawk.
It's the current Hawk. It's the Donny Cates Hawk. Bruce Banner is driving the ship that is Hawk. And the ship is fueled by Hawk's rage, which acts as an engine room. It's so horrible. It's so horrible. It's the worst.
You're kidding me right now, right?
No, it's bad. It's bad. It's not good. It is not good. It's not good at all. So yeah. So that's man, we went from She-Hulk into the Hawk. I want to talk about Breyer going back to print.
Oh, yeah. That was fast.
I mean, it's sold out at the distribution level every cover. 56,000 copies in print as reported by Bleeding Cool. Not a lot. That's less than the total print of the three covers of Something Is Killing the Children, #1, which was close to 60,000. Right? So this is across 4 covers. 56,000 copies sold out at the distribution level. Listen, and it immediately went back to print. That screams aftermarket value.
Yeah.
Plus the book is great. It's just a better book than Something Is Killing the Children, #1 is. Far be it for me to say it. It's a better book than Grimm. But that doesn't mean that the market is going to respond that way. And I'm just talking about it's a better read. When you look at Something Is Killing the Children, you look at Grimm, these are books that you can read them in 5 minutes. Good books. But there's not a lot of meat on the bone in those stories. Whereas Briar #1, man, did you read? You don't read. I'm asking Rich doesn't read if he read a book. Briar #1 was really great. The narrative was phenomenal. It's Thursday, so it is what it is. That book dropped Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on where you choose to purchase your books, so we can talk about it, right? Like, the narrative on that book is great. Like, it opens up with her narrating that her narrator is dead. Like, yo, like, that's how the book opens. She's telling she's narrating the book, and she's telling the readers, listen, my narrator was this really dope dude. Carried a sword, did all this dope stuff, and he's dead. Like, he got killed doing what he does. So here I am telling you this tale. It's really dope how it's introduced. Like, really dope. I believe it's Christopher Cantwell who wrote it. Man, dope. The art, stunning. So apropos for each phase of the book, right? Where you get her transition from this affluent princess who touches the needle on the spindle and goes into a sleep. And to me, the dopest part is when Prince Charming shows up, knowing that if he kisses her and wakes her up, he marries her, he becomes king, he gets to rule, da. So instead, he's like, well, why wake her up? I'll just marry her. He's like, I'll just marry her and become king and work with her father to vanquish all our enemies. Like, wives are a pain in the butt, and they nag you and they're irritating. Like, leave her sleep. Like, yo, it's like, leave her sleep, and he leaves her sleep.
That's a cold move.
Yo, straight up, he leaves her sleep, and then you get this mysterious guy who comes and pretty much robs her grave. 100 years later, and then he's like leaving because she's still asleep. He like cuts all the brambles off of her and like crushes a necklace, and she's like still asleep, and he leaves, and he stops and decides to kiss her, and then leaves, and she wakes up, and she doesn't wake up like this younger. She can't even talk. She hasn't used her vocal cords in over 100 years, and she's haggard, and her hair is old woman white, and yo, really dope. But she still seems to have the strength of her youth. But like, really dope book. And then she goes through it immediately. Like, they give you this backstory. The lettering is crazy. And then they give you this backstory. And then they bring you to present, and they put her through it. So you get like depth of story. You really get real depth in this story. I will say, I don't think that the characters have been fleshed out just yet, but it's just the first issue. So I'm sure we're going to learn more about, and I mean, how much fleshing out can you do with a woman who, as a very young teenage or young adult, was cursed to sleep for 100 years? Like, she doesn't have thoughts of an adult who's lived a full life. She wakes up and she's going into bars telling everyone, I'm the royal princess. And they're like laughing at her. Like, oh, you're going to be a slave. We're taking you right now. You're a slave, slapping her around, all of that. Like, they're like, what do you mean? There hasn't been royalty in 100 years. Craziness. Really good book. We kind of knew it was going to go back to print because it sold out immediately at distribution. So we knew it was going to go back to print. It will probably go back to print again. I like the book. I like the potential aftermarket value on the book. I like that only 56,000 copies sold across 4 covers. I've stocked up on it.
Yeah.
I've stocked up on it. Grimm number 5 was another big book that dropped this week. Big reveals, key first appearances in that book, right? Like, I'm sorry
that you said.
Yeah, couple. Yeah, Grimm number 5 was big. Really thought that was the meatiest book of the series. It gave you the most exposition. It gave you the most detail, the most story as well. So that was the big book of the series to end the first arc, and they end the first arc on a bang. They went out on a high note. They stuck the landing. We'll see where number 6 goes, but yeah, I really enjoyed Grimm this week. Those to me are the books this week. I mean, obviously, if you're talking non-mainstream books, because I really like the first appearance of Chimera. I like that. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with this character. I know she appears with the White Tiger, but I'm interested to see where they're going to go with her. Where she's going to pop up again. Is she going to be an Avenger? Is she going to be like, what are they doing with her? Right? Like,
if you had to guess, where do you think she is going to pop up?
I'd like to see a Chimera limited series. That's not a guess. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see Chimera pop up. I don't know. What do you guys? What are the viewers think about Chimera popping up in Marvel Voices Comunidades this week, and where do you think that character can go? Big book dropping next week. Spider-Man number 1. Chimera, Corey James. She made her first appearance in Marvel Voices Comunidades this week. She got a cover appearance. The Paco Medina design variant is her first cover appearance. She makes her first full appearance in that book. Dropped yesterday in local comic shops. It dropped yesterday. Marvel comic. So her name is Chimera. She's a new Latinx character in the Marvel Universe. Interested to see where she goes. Next week, we got Spider-Man number 1, which tons of new characters are going to be debuting in that series. That series is a direct spinoff of the final Edge of Spider-Verse series. So it's interesting, right? Because the last issue of Edge of Spider-Verse comes out next week. Edge of Spider-Verse number 5. 3 first appearances in that book. That's going to be really dope. Nice. You get the Kraven the Hunter character. You get 3 first appearance, Spinster. Like, there's 3 first appearances in that book. And then that book is going to be the end of all. It's the last book we're ever going to get of Edge of Spider-Verse from all of the Edge of Spider-Verse volumes. And then Spider-Man number 1 is dropping, which is supposed to pick up where Edge of Spider-Verse ends. And that series is supposed to give us new characters as well as flesh out characters from Edge of Spider-Verse. So for the first time in a long time, I'm really excited about a Spider-Man book. I'm actually going to have this book on my pull list. I will be collecting this particular book. I think Mark Bagley is coming back on the creative team. So yeah, that's a book next week. Tons of really cool books dropping too. Obviously, I don't want to spoil some of the things that we're going to cover on hashtag all of the spec, our pregame show, and on Focus. But man, tons of key images dropping, like 4 number 1s. Marvel, you're getting a first appearance in like Hulk, Edge of Spider-Verse. Hulk is going to be, that cover appearance on Hulk of Monolith looks so good. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I haven't. Not yet.
Man, it looks so good. First cover appearance, first appearance of Monolith. So that's a big book. I believe there's a first appearance in like X-Men. Tons of first appearances coming from Marvel. Tons of first appearances. Like I can't wait to read Mandalorian number 4, because I believe we're getting girl played by Gina Carano, unless they wrote her out. If they didn't write her out, I think that first appearance is going to be really big. The name of the character that Gina Carano plays in Star Wars. Why I can't think of it.
Didn't they? Oh wait, they didn't recast her, right?
No, they did not recast the character. But this is the episode that this issue coincides with the episode that she would have made her first appearance.
James just said a Cara Dune.
Yes, Cara Dune.
Thanks,
Cara Dune. So I'm really, really, really big. Really big on this Cara Dune spec. I'm really big on it. And the reason why is because I think Marvel, obviously the producers of the Mandalorian show control what happens to those characters. They have like a very tight grip on the rope of what happens with those characters, even in the comics. But I think Jonathan Favreau and the producers and the writers of the show want to not have the reputation sullied of that character. I think that character matters to them, which is why they created the character, which is why she recurred. And so I think the Cara Dune character is not gone from the mythos. And I think that this is going to be a relevant first appearance in Star Wars Mandalorian #4. I think it's going to matter. I want to pop up shop. Thanks, Corey James, for that. Yeah, Cara Dune. So Sean Mallory says, has Marvel done anything with the all new characters from their one shots like Pride, Heritage, etc.? They seem to be enthralled a bunch of characters, but do nothing with them post one shot. So Escapade will be in the New Mutants, in the one that was just on FOC, covered it on Focus. Escapade makes her first cover appearance, and she will be joining the New Mutants. Escapade got her first appearance in Marvel Voices Pride, dropped earlier in 2022. She will be a new member of the New Mutants, convinced by Emma Frost to join the team. So she gets a first cover appearance. I believe all of those characters on that cover dropping. New Mutants 31 is a new arc, our first cover appearance as well. But Escapade will be in that. Let me think of some of the other new characters. Somnus was in an X book. I can't remember which X book Somnus was in, but he was in an X book. He dropped in Marvel Voices Pride in 2021. Children of the Atom, which dropped in Marvel Voices Pride, got their own 5-issue series. Their first appearance was not Marvel Voices Pride. It was Marvel Voices. It's the one with the Miles Morales cover, but not the Hispanic one. The one with black people. All the characters were black. I can't remember which Marvel Voices it was. That was in 2020. Trying to think of any of the other first appearances of characters that dropped in any of these Marvel Voices titles that I think we covered them all. Escapade, Somnus, Children of the Atom, which had their own book. One of them actually turned out to be a mutant and is currently invited to live on Krakoa. She was certainly at the Hellfire Gala. Trying to think. So far, though, they've found not extensively, but they certainly have found reason to use some of these characters that they pushed out in these Marvel Voices books. We'll see how far Escapade goes. We'll see where Somnus goes. I'm sure Somnus is going to be used. He was a big deal when they dropped him. He was on the 1 in 50. Maybe it was the 1 in 25. He was on the racial variant cover. That was his cover appearance. Whereas Chimera to me has the biggest potential for a Marvel Voices community artist. She has a lot of potential. I would like to see her in a 4 or 5 issue limited series. But again, and it's a good question, Sean, because it's the same question I have. Like, how do they use her? Where do they use her? Does she show up on a team? Is she dope enough to get her own series? When you look at some of the female-centric or solo series in Marvel, you got your Captain Marvels, you got your She-Hulk, which quite honestly just isn't a great book.
Silver Sable.
Well, she doesn't have her own book. I'm talking about currently has a book right now. Like America doesn't have a book. Riri doesn't have a book. Kamala Khan currently doesn't have a book. You just have Captain Marvel and She-Hulk. She-Hulk's book isn't really consistent and it's not good. I think Captain Marvel is a book that should be on everyone's pull list because like every other issue is a key. I actually think Captain Marvel is the best pure superhero book dropping from Marvel. Just pure superhero solo title dropping from Marvel right now, I think is is Captain Marvel. But I'm trying to think. I could be leaving something off the table. I think there is a place for Chimera to get a book. Obviously, I think they're gonna go Captain Carter at a point in time or another. Comic Sam up in the house. Wow.
Yo,
Shout out to the homie Comic Sam, man. Good to have you, bro.
what is going on? Sorry, I was having some mic issues earlier, and I was leaving work, and I'm still on the road, so I gotta grab something to eat, and then I'm good to go. I can still talk, though. You're talking about Chimera?
Yeah, man, where she could go. You missed it, man. There was a conversation I wanted to have with you about comics currently being in a recession, and right now it's a buyer's market.
Oh, but it is buy. If you're in a position to,
buy. But we covered that. Right now we're just kind of figuring out where they can go with Chimera.
I didn't get a chance to read it, but I've seen the spec and I saw the appearance. I knew about it like a week or so ago, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I like the connection to, what you call it, White Tiger.
White Tiger.
I think White Tiger is a drastically underappreciated and underrated character that Avengers Academy is prepped and primed to explode at some point. But there's a whole nother universe, that's just untapped. I think it could be really cool, and there's a rich history with White Tiger, and I don't know the backstory of Chimera, but they're related. Is that the rumor?
I don't know.
Oh, that's a rumor that I read.
I was gonna do it an issue expose a spec this week, but I can't because Trolls will be out of town, which means I'll be shipping. So I'll be shipping all day Wednesday, which is, you know what I mean?
That's a lot of shipping.
Hey, you and Rich talk to the people for just a second.
Yeah. What else do we cover on this week's spec wise, or releases or news or anything?
I'm trying to think. We talked about Briar. We talked about Grimm 5 and how the Grimm 5 and Ish pretty much talked about how that was the big meat books this week, especially Grimm 5. It had a few key first key appearances in there, and
yeah, I thought Grimm 5 was an excellent read. I'm continuously impressed by that book. I think it's moving pretty fast, but that's how a lot of those boom books are. There could be a little bit more characterization, but overall, I think it's a property that would translate really well into film or television or something. It's a pretty compelling story, and to see. Spoiler alert, I guess, but who is her mother,
right?
And what's her connection? What is the deal going to be with her? That's just another reveal and mystery. I'm hoping that they slow down a little bit so you can, get more than just a one issue, couple page exposition of a character.
Right.
The Reaper. It was around for not even full issue. It's come on. But right. I still like the book a lot.
And they end at 6, right? 6 is then they're done.
6 is the beginning of the new arc.
Oh, yeah, okay. So they're going to keep it going.
Right. And I love that you said it was an excellent read, because I agree. That's what I said. It was the best read of the 5. It was the meatiest. It had the most. It was a really good read of the 5. And it was an action piece, a lot of action pieces as well. But when you talk about really good reads, did you read Briar, dude?
Yo, Briar was crazy.
Yo, I broke Briar all the way down, dude. Briar was
it was
great.
Different.
It was great.
The premise in general was really intriguing for me, but then the way it was written and
the narrative, right? She tells you her narrator is dead. It's just Briar's really good. And you get a lot from Briar. You get a lot.
You do. It's not the one gripe that I think we've talked about with boom books, specific boom books, right? The spec ones, the hot ones, has been you could read them in 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
And you're done. But Briar was different. And it was refreshing, to be honest.
Yes.
Yes. The art at times I thought started off strong, and then I did think it got choppier, but maybe that's just the style of her being revived and the world looking the way that it does.
What I gauged from the art was that it was story based, and it changed when the story changed. Like it was a different art style when she was young and still alive, like a totally different art style. And then
it got real choppy after the revival, you know.
Right.
Which I can appreciate. I didn't know personally if that's exactly what they were going for or not. You know, was it an intentional change, or is it just that artist's capabilities with that kind of, you know?
It looked intentional to me, because the first quarter of the book is a completely different art style. It's very
it's more polished,
but also very 70s Disney cartoonish, right? Like sense. The Aristocrats type. You know what I mean? Aristocats, excuse me.
Yeah, not the Aristocrats. That's a different movie.
Right. The Aristocats, right? It's very 70s Disney cartoonish. And then it gets really warped, right? To bring us into this warped world that she wakes up into 100 years later. You know what I mean? Like, this world is warped. You know what I mean? And the art style kind of coincides with that. So I think it was very much intentional. I think everything contributed to a masterpiece in that. I mean, even down to the lettering. Like the lettering.
The lettering was very intentional.
Yeah. Intentional. It transitions. Like, just a masterpiece. I was saying that I love that there's only 56,000 copies in circulation across 4 covers.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I read it, and then I went back to the shop
and got more
local comic shop, and I got more A covers.
Why didn't you come see? Never mind. We'll talk about that offline.
Well, I mean, I gotta talk to you about all that anyways. So
say again.
I gotta talk to you about all that anyways. I mean, I think that you should probably hunt down the ratios for these books. You know, there's 2 prisons.
Listen, first of all, there's 2 exclusive covers.
There are, which is very low.
They're low priced. You can get one per stores right now for like $15 to $19.
One is from our friend too. New York Comic Con exclusive coming up, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, there's a 1 in 7. I saw somebody selling the 1 per store, the 1 in 25, the 1 in 50, and the 1 in 75 for $100 on the bay.
Yeah, I would consider that to be a good deal with the potential of this series.
Yeah,
it has option written all over it.
Yes.
You know, I was talking to like one of the.
I have 70 sets.
70 sets. All right.
74 cover sets.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Wow. Yeah, we're going to talk, buddy.
You know how I feel when I'm all in on a book.
Yeah, we're going to talk, buddy.
I was talking to one of the LCSs, and they're like, "How do you feel about this book?" Blah blah. And, you know, I told them I read it, but anything with a really strong female lead. And
we're talking about Briar, Jason Robinson.
Yep, talking about Briar, and a property that is very relatable to a massive audience, which I think this is. It's a classic, tale, just spun on its head. It's a different take on it. It's spec-worthy, big spec-worthy.
Yeah, mega spec.
Yeah.
Mega spec. Jay, we know you're on it, bro. We know you're in the stream Tuesday. You got tons of.
I'm gonna mute myself. I gotta pick up food.
You got. I'm trying to put my camera back on here. You got tons of that book. I got tons of it, like tons of it. I got all the ratios.
I'm gonna need more of those.
I got all the ratios, and then I have 70 4-cover sets, the A, B, C, and FOC cover, 70 of them. So, I mean. Tons of that book, tons of it, and I really like the book. So, yeah, we made sure to pull out all the stops and grab.
You might be missing a couple of those sets, buddy.
I mean, we got it because it's going to be a hot book. Definitely sending some to CGC.
Now, okay, quick question: are you just sending A covers in, or would you send an exclusive cover if you got it, or both?
So we'll have a conversation about that since we're on it. I'm not an exclusive cover guy.
I know you're not. The only reason why I ask that is because, and Sam brought up that there's only 2 exclusive covers.
Yeah, there are 2. There are
Only two of them.
There's
So
the Zola Shea, and then there's another exclusive cover.
Yeah, the one is. Are they both limited to 400?
I'm not aware what the limitations on the other one is. I know the Zola Shea is 400. No, one of them is 400. I don't know about the Zola Shea. I know the other one is limited to 400.
Yeah, I don't know the details.
So that's an interesting question.
There's a Riccardi that's being released at NYCC. So that it's pretty limited. I'm not sure what the print run is, but it's going to be. I mean, if it's
Boom,
the con, it's going to do well.
Well, the con one, Boom will make an exclusive. Now the Boom exclusive.
What do you think about the second print?
I think the second print. I'm not really a fan of the cover, but I'm a fan that it went back to print.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Boom will probably do an exclusive cover of this book.
Well, it's interesting you say that because Boom has yet to announce any New York Comic Con exclusives from themselves, and
one will be Breyer.
What was the last show that everything blew up? Was it C2E2, where the Boom booth was on fire?
Yep.
That's where everyone was lined up trying to get whatever they could from Boom.
And Boom is going to capitalize on that.
Radio silence from Boom on any exclusives. Arguably one of the biggest shows of the year.
I believe they're rushing to get Breyer because they just saw Breyer. I mean, we're gonna get a Breyer Boom exclusive. Even if it's not at the con, we will get a Breyer Boom exclusive. But to answer your question, Rich, it's a difficult question for me, right? Because ideally I'd like to send A covers to get graded. However, I don't know that I want to break up 4 cover, those sets. So I might just send, and it's weird because it's like, okay, if I send a 4 cover set, that's 3 A covers I could be sending in place of the B cover, the C cover, and the FOC cover, right? That's 3 A covers. So I don't know. It's something that Trobes and I have to sit down and figure out, but definitely some of a good portion. It's going to be a good amount of A covers. That's certainly, I don't know if it's going to be full sets or not, but whatever the case may be, at least 15 of them are going to go get graded.
It's a good number.
Yeah. We're going to
maybe talk about the hottest reselling book of the week yet in Dr. Aphra.
Oh, number 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that book is going crazy.
That book is going nuts right now.
Yeah.
That first appearance of the Sith group.
Yep.
That Togruta race male, which we don't really have any information on the group or him. But, if it's a rule of 2, you might get 2 new Sith.
Yep.
If that's what they are involved in that. Sith first appearances are always absolutely crazy.
Every time.
Every single time. Every time. And it's an all-black cover, which is
it's hard to get. Yeah.
Very, very difficult. So that if you all are still, if your shops don't move a lot of Star Wars, if you're not in an area where folks spec a ton, snatch those up. Look on the shelves. Dr. Aphra 24 A cover.
Well, we're just gonna be real. Comic shops don't spec.
They do after they listen to watch your show.
Oh man, there's a lot of shops that pull after day one.
Yeah, they pull, but they don't spec beforehand because they just can't really afford to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree with you on that.
Or you'll have some shops that'll put a limit on only one per customer.
Right.
Yeah, Midtown limited Dr. Aphra all copies to 1 per customer this week.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's specking after the fact, right? Like they're not specking, because if they're specking when they order, then they don't have to limit it. Mm-hmm. And that's just my own personal experiences from ordering books. Like, okay, I'm specking every time I order because I don't have a brick and mortar.
Well, and we saw what happened with Star Wars 26, right? When they weren't limited, those things sold out, and then regulars who normally get Star Wars, but maybe not on a pull, didn't get a copy, and then it caught fire even more.
Yeah, but that's on the fault of the regulars.
It's on the fault of the regulars, and maybe it's on the fault of the shop too.
I don't know. I can't blame a shop for selling through a title.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just
No,
can't
you're
blame
right.
a
You're
shop
right.
for selling through their inventory.
Mhm.
What regulars, and I'm not hating on regulars. I'm just saying, if you collect a book and you want to make sure you get it,
You better
support your
pre-order it,
local
get it on
comic
a
shop
pull,
and put it on your pull list.
do something.
The bulk of a comic shop's money comes from its pull lists. If you know you're going to show up at that shop every week to buy a book, it doesn't cost you anything to put it on a pull list. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you, the best way that you can support a local comic shop is by establishing a pull list, even if it's one book. That's the best way. I don't have a local comic shop. I don't have any reason to cape for local comic shops, other than I'm passionate about kids being able to walk into a shop and get a book and become comic readers. And the best way to keep these stores open, it's not what they sell off the table. The guaranteed money that they're going to get is going to come from people who have pull lists. So if you wanted Star Wars 26 and you collect every issue of Star Wars, it should have been on your pull list, because people like me who buy spec books and key books who don't have Star Wars on my pull list. I mean, I ordered it, but I'm going to go grab it. I'm going to go buy it. I don't have Star Wars on my pull list.
Especially on a big one like that. Like, this could be a major one.
I mean, so I collect every new Star Wars title, meaning but I have my own pull list with my own company, but I collect High Republic. I collect The Mandalorian. I collect the Obi-Wan series. I collect the Han Solo Chewbacca series. I collect Visionaries. I collect all of the Star Wars new titles that drop. But I don't have Star Wars or Dr. Aphra or Darth Vader on my pull list. When I'm ordering books and I'm speccing by reading the synopses or what have you, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a dope issue of Star Wars. I'm going to order it. Now, I didn't order Star Wars 26, I ordered the second print. I didn't order the first print of Star Wars 26 because I didn't have you miss on spec, and there was no information anywhere pointing to what that book was going to be. Same with Dr. A for 24. It's just what it is. You can't hit on everything. Sometimes you're just going to miss. And those were cool misses for me. They weren't strikeouts. They were just, there's no way I could have known or would have known. No excuse, but there's just no way I would have known till after the fact. Nobody knew. Key Collector didn't know on either book.
Exactly. And like, the only lead we had on Dr. Aphra, right, was the information from the writer from, like, what was it? Was it C2E2 or San Diego or Celebration? It was one of them, right? But
I love this, by the way.
They legit said that Dr. Aphra from 20 on is huge, but there's no way that you can say every issue is going to be a hit. So
right.
You can't spec mass quantities on every issue.
Jason Robinson says, when I go to my LCS, I purchase an issue of a new book for a random customer to help build a following. This week, it was Briar. That is awesome.
That really is.
That's incredible.
Like,
that is awesome.
Yeah. Like, that is really awesome. I love that. Love that. Jason Robinson is a good dude. Family. Love that. Of course, he would do that. Love
That's an
that.
Incredible way to pay it forward, you know?
Yes. Build new readers. All of that, man. Love it.
That's what, I mean, you guys do.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
A kid a comic book, and it's specifically for kids. Like, it's those things. You know, you guys went to the reading event for Buffalo. You know, those things continue to not only build readership and grow this industry, but build lifelong collectors, and we need that.
Yes. That's why I'm always screaming, support your locals. We want kids reading. Sure, we want our hobby to pay for itself. We want to get rich one day and put our kids through school and be able to buy houses and put down payments on houses and all of the cool things that people may collect comics for. For me, it's 100 things, But primary is I definitely want kids reading. So I'm going to continue to support the medium in any way that I can so that the medium continues to thrive. That's just what it is. Sam, take the floor for a second for me really quick. I just have to go check on the little one, my niece.
You're good. I'm trying to think what else happened this week that stood out to me in terms of like those three. Rich were like the biggest ones on my radar.
Right.
Briar, Grimm. I searched for more Rogues Gallery, which I ended up finding a couple
Did you
covers.
really?
Yeah, they were hidden behind some stacks. I think those are the best finds.
Oh, 100%. 100%. When you go through that digging process, and it's part of the hunt, part of the fun of going through the comic boxes and the bins and the stacks of them, and then all of a sudden you happen to find, which is could be gold, at that exact moment, but it's always fun. It's always fun to find a hit or multiple books of the same issue too.
Oh, definitely. I don't gamble money, but I feel like I get that same like that gambler high when I surf through a box and then I find something that's like big, right?
100%.
Did you talk about Hugh Jackman?
We did not talk about Hugh Jackman.
I mean,
I know
I don't think there's bigger news than that.
When I saw both trailers, like both things that Ryan Reynolds did, like he's trying to take a serious approach, but it's Ryan Reynolds. He can't take a serious approach. And, the way they introduce him, like, oh, do you feel like playing Wolverine again? Yeah, sure, Ryan. Just eats his apple, goes up the. But then the next one where they're trying to talk about it. And then, of course, the way Deadpool does it, you have music playing in the background that you can't hear them talk. And, I was pumped for it. And not for nothing, though. I remember 4 or 5 months ago, there was a video of Hugh Jackman doing deadlifts and doing arm workouts. And while he was doing said workouts, he's starting to look more cut, and he was doing very, very similar Wolverine type-esque grunts. And come to find out, now we know why, because he can't say no to the role. So, and he's going to wear the black and yellow. Love it.
So what's dope about this is we're going to get a Wolverine Deadpool buddy cop film.
I mean,
I guess so. Yeah.
That's apparently what we're getting, right?
It's going to be dope.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I mean, it writes itself, right? You get the hard-nosed, no nonsense, and you get the comedy relief who's annoying. And I mean, it's Deadpool and Cable all over again, right?
But these two have a bromance, though. Like the chemistry between Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds is just something different. They troll each other for years. Their wives troll each other back and forth for a while. I think it's gonna be a great movie. I think it's gonna be hilarious. I think it's gonna. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I think my only hurdle with the film, and I think they'll find a way to make it good. I don't know if the Disney formula is going to translate to Deadpool, but like you're talking about two ultra violent characters.
I mean, I agree with you. They allude to that a little bit, right? Like in the video, like those teasers,
you see,
they say, "Look at this effing guy." Like they're not pulling language or anything.
Well, Disney isn't either, right? Like I just watched Andor, and I mean, he's just straight murking people.
Yeah, Andor is a different level, dude. It's a different level.
There's profanity in there. They're murking people.
There's profanity. There's, I mean, intimacy at a level that you typically don't see in Star Wars. It's they're pushing the envelope. I'm hoping we get a rated R Deadpool Wolverine. That would,
right? The way
you really do.
Just his manner, just the way Deadpool is, you would think like you'd have to, because with Hugh Jackman, you've gotten away with him doing PG-13 movies playing Wolverine. I mean, he's vicious, but
was a problem to me because you can't have adamantium claws and there's no blood,
right?
Like you got adamantium claws and not a drop of blood anywhere,
right?
Man, stop it.
Well, and I mean, I'm really excited for it, but based on the reviews that we've heard about Werewolf by Night, if this thing is...
We're losing you, Sam. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, you got me?
Yep.
if they would have put Werewolf by Night in color, they're saying it would have gotten the TVMA rating all day because of the amount of blood and gore and everything that's in it. So I think they're starting to push the envelope a little bit further and further.
Yeah, Disney's announced that they're going to rely on parents' discretion.
Yeah, it's going to be the content filter and everything, you know.
I mean, and they should. And you're going to have a lot of groups protesting it.
You do. You already have a lot of groups. You know, I was listening to some Star Wars podcasts, and people are up in arms about the subject matter that's in Andor. But it's not. You have to have content for everyone right now. You know, especially when you're going up against Netflix, who has very mature content that is trending worldwide, like Squid Game and all of these money heists, all these very, very intense, brash, hyper violent shows.
I mean, they just dropped Dahmer.
Yeah. And the guy who's playing in it is the guy from the MCU. So,
and then the Marilyn Monroe film was really intense. Like, man, wow. What did I watch? Like, what did I watch? So
Disney, I guess Disney just can't keep softening them up. All these storylines and all these characters. At some point, you have to, I guess,
so with the Andor,
I agree, and I don't think he would actually sign up. I don't think Hugh Jackman would sign up for another one if it wasn't going to get done right because of how great of a send-off that Logan really was.
Well, getting back to Andor really quick, and you know, people up in arms about the subject matter of Andor, and it's like, well, wait a minute, bro. Did you watch Rogue One?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, did you watch it? Like, Rogue One is arguably, first of all, it's one of the greatest Star Wars films ever. And it's so tragic. Like, it's one of the most tragic Star Wars films. Everybody goes to their death. Period, point blank. All of them are going on a mission and they are going to die. That is what it is.
Rogue One.
I think it's so great.
Correct.
I'm going to watch it tonight.
I think what got people, like, there's that, right? The subject matter, him just shooting the guy point blank to the head. But Andor also starts off in an area where he's in a brothel. Like, that's where people are like, oh, that's not my Star Wars. That's not how George did it. Like, there's a lot of people very up in arms about it. It's interesting to hear all the different comments. But what I love about Rogue One and Andor is that it shows the real shades of gray, the real world, what would have happened if there was an empire taking over. There's not just straight good and bad like there is in episode 4 through 6. It is ambiguous. It's real life people living through an empire over, and it's cool.
Yeah, because he's a shady dude. In the sense that he has no problem doing dirt.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to do the dirt. Jason Robinson says he asked our thoughts on Blade firing the director and Mahershala Ali being frustrated with the direction of the movie.
Yeah, I think that is a huge story that's going under the radar because we got Deadpool and Wolverine announced. I think it's nerve-wracking because I'm looking forward to not only that section of the Marvel Universe that has not... We haven't been taken there. The closest thing we've had so far is Wanda.
Moon Knight.
Yeah, you're right. Like, those levels of horror. But this, I think, is going to push it over the edge and just blow the world wide open. So to have it so close to production and then have everything ripped out from underneath, that makes me worry. I have faith in Feige and all of them, so I think it's going to be okay. But that's
there's got to be one. There's got to be one. They have so many movies. There's never going to be a situation where everything just goes off without a hitch and everyone's happy.
I mean, it happened with Ant-Man, but then I would Ant-Man isn't one of the best Marvel movies. You have
It
lots
isn't.
of feelings. You have lots of feelings about that. And we've had. I think we've had like a whole half hour of you providing us an essay on why Ant-Man's terrible. But like Edgar
Terrible.
Wright.
Yeah, we don't have enough time to go down that road again.
Yeah, I mean Edgar Wright he's incredible, and for him to say I don't like where you want me to take this, I'm dropping out of this project. It's similar to what's happening with Blade, but to happen so close to the start date of production, that's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. And it's not happy that you have your main star, Ali, being upset about it too. I mean, that's never good to ruffle the feathers of the main star of the movie.
Yeah, but he's not in a position, in my opinion, where and maybe it's certainly principle, but he's not that level of an actor where he can just be like, "Yo, I'm leaving this."
Oh no, he's not there.
I don't know, dude. They consider him to be that level because he's the one who reached out about.
But the world doesn't consider him to be that level.
I mean, I get you, but like they only went with Blade because he reached out and said, "Yo, I want to play Blade."
Yeah, but this is the biggest role of his career.
Is it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, you're a lead. You're the lead.
You're a lead in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
The biggest movie franchise in movies right now.
You're replacing the guy that saved MCU essentially when Wesley Snipes. You're replacing him.
Well, he didn't save the MCU, but he certainly had the first great Marvel film.
No, I thought Blade saved the MCU. It was Blade for the reason like they made so much money that they actually got them almost out of debt.
Yeah, but there was no MCU.
Okay, not the MCU, but Marvel.
All right, I gotta put up a bad comment from my homie Jason Robinson. Stop it, bruh.
Yeah, I think he is. He's an Oscar winner. He's a huge actor.
He's at that level based on what
franchises.
He doesn't have the film catalog.
What?
I don't know. Did I?
I don't think so. I mean,
do I have a speech impediment or something?
I don't think so.
Am I speaking another language? Name them. Shoot. No Google. Just name them.
I don't think I'm gonna name them.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think you are either.
But the big one was what? Moonlight, right?
He was in that. He was in wasn't he in an Alien and Predator?
Midnight. Green Book.
Okay, Green Book. I did forget about Green Book, but
So we have Studio Silence.
Yeah, that's not good.
At that level. At that level. So that having been said, this is his yo, Jay put his portrayal of Cottonmouth in Luke. Yo. Jay, I am imaginary. I'm using my imagination to unfriend you. I liked Alita Battle Angel. I liked Alita Battle Angel. But y'all, this is technically how we define reach. Like, this is what we're doing right now.
If you got to go on to Google or IMDb to try and find other movies aside from one or two that he was in, that's the point of. I get it. He's got an award. I get it, but
let me tell you something. I could go down a list. I could go down a list of Don Cheadle's movies, and Don Cheadle would tell you himself that he wasn't at that level until he played War Machine. And he'll tell you himself. He used to say it all the time on all his interviews. Like, I don't got no money. Like, he used to say it. And yes, people consider him a great actor, but at that level, nah, they weren't. He wasn't getting leading roles. He's great. And he has a ton of movies that are dope. That it wasn't until he played War Machine that he was really considered at that level. You could say the same for Robert Downey Jr., who has a ton of movies.
Yeah.
And he played Iron Man, and then he got your Sherlock Holmeses and you know what I mean? Jay is the best. I feel like he's trolling us.
Oh, Jason Robinson. Yo, Don Cheadle's Captain Planet is hilarious.
Yeah.
I've seen that skit. The skits there. They're funny.
I'm being trolled so hard right now. I'm being trolled so hard right now. Shout out to Jason Robinson. Right. Right. And that's what I'm getting at with Mahershala Ali. I'm not hating on him. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is when we say at that level, what level are we talking about?
I'm talking
Like
Denzel
what's
Washington,
the bar?
I mean,
it takes a long time.
I mean,
like what's the bar? Are we saying he's Lawrence Fishburne? He's not. And Jay, you're right. Iron Man was that role for Robert Downey Jr. because he had done a lot of good films leading up to that, but Iron Man was the one. And then he got Sherlock Holmes. And then he got some of those bigger roles. But Iron Man was the one that really put him, because he had been in film for a long time. From Less Than Zero. Love that movie.
He had the fall from grace. Like, that was his comeback. Like, if he wasn't going to hit with Iron Man, he was never going to be in Hollywood again, basically.
Right, right. And when you say comeback, like, he isn't really doing anything else.
Beforehand? During Iron Man? Yeah. He was a Hollywood outcast.
He was a supporting actor. I mean, I remember him in a handful of movies, but he wasn't the main actor. He was in what was it, U.S. Marshals with Tommy Lee Jones and Wesley Snipes and Robert Downey Jr. I mean,
well, and that was forever ago too. Like, that was way before Iron Man. Like, Favreau pulled him out of like kind of obscurity to try and do this.
Yeah.
Jay, you're right.
Yes, all of that. And then he got your Sherlock Holmeses. He got the film with Jamie Foxx. He's not doing much now, but that's probably because 10 years of doing Iron Man, he's chilling.
Yeah.
I mean, he's arguably one of the biggest stars in Hollywood now.
He's allegedly supposed to do another Sherlock with Jude Law, but I mean, that's been talked about for years. Whether he doesn't. And
he probably will. But I mean, I'm not hating on Mahershala Ali. I want to say again, I really like him.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed
House of Cards.
I liked him in the Roxanne Shante film. Like, I really liked him. I still like him. But on that level, again, what's the bar? This is gonna be his biggest role. Yeah. This is gonna be the most recognizability. You have great movies. When you drop Midnight as the film of the year, there are tons of great movies that are critically acclaimed films of the year where you never either hear from the actor again, or most people, because these movies aren't hit movies making millions of dollars and smashing box offices. Yes, they're great films, but they're not smashing the box office.
Box office smashers don't win awards. Not normally.
Yeah, there are some exceptions.
You get exceptions to the rule. I mean, you get Avatar, you got Titanic, you got a few others, but Marvel movies, MCU movies, DC, you're not winning awards anytime soon. But what you will do, those are the ones that are going to break box office records and just stay on top for 4 weeks in a row at the box office.
Longer than that. Yeah, longer than that. But so that's all I was getting at with Mahershala Ali. He's the Blade. This is the biggest role of his career. This is going to gain him the most recognizability. This is what people are going to come on. It's just what it's going to be. It's what it's going to be. I want to remind everyone to peep the scroll at the bottom of the screen. This is to say, like comiXsense on Facebook, join our comiXsense Facebook group, check us out on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram, find us on the Twitter, on YouTube, click the notification bell, hit thumbs up, thumbs down, do something. Just don't go to YouTube and do nothing. Click on the video for a couple seconds, watch the stuff. I think we covered all the things. It was so good to have Comic Sam up in the house.
Always is.
I gotta go
be here.
Check out some SmackDown and see some White Rabbit clues.
Well, the reveal is supposed to be
Extreme Rules.
At Extreme Rules, so I'm looking forward to that.
Of course it would be. We already know who it is.
I mean, we're hoping.
Nah, we know.
I mean, we know, but we're hoping.
Yes. Stan Lee has the highest grossing movie catalog of any actor ever. 60 billion grossed. So yeah, I think we covered all the things. We appreciate everyone hanging out with us. I'm gonna let Rich and Sam have some words before I close this up out of here.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Always appreciate, comic book community crowd. Always appreciate you guys taking the time to listen and, chime in and, get to hear what we talk about and what we have a passion for. And go Bills.
Yes, go Bills. Next week, I'll be at some point, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, coming to you live from New York Comic Con.
Oh, it's going to be so dope.
Awesome.
With Ish. We'll break down what's going on there, what my picks of the show are, exclusives that I'm picking up. I'm going to be attending as many panels as I can. Obviously, Star Wars High Republic panels are high on my priority list. I landed some tickets to see Todd McFarlane, so that will be very exciting. Nice. I'll give you some of the updates coming out of speaking with Todd. Should be a crazy show. It's been a while since I've been there, so I'm trying to plan accordingly so I can get each and every single one of you as much news as possible.
That is going to be dope. We're going to have Comic Sam live on location from NYCC. Listen, we're broadcasting that to the page. We're broadcasting it to YouTube. Y'all better stay tuned for that. Comic Sam is really dope when it comes to interacting with people in the comic industry. So, and his picks, I'm very anxious to see your picks, Comic Sam. So, that having been said, shout out to all of the people that would be the comiXsense crowd, community, crew, otherwise known as my 3C family. This has been CSP, comiXsensory Perception. I am Issue X, and we up out of here.